So in this section, we did a lot of things. The first thing we look at was the basics of compose, project, and function so that we can situate ourselves as we progress in our learning process here. And of course, we created a very simple money counter app, which the main idea was to show you how things are constructed or how to put together a very simple application, but give you the foundation of how compose works, how composable functions work, how you call composable functions inside of other composable functions. So how to simply structure your compose applications. Okay. And of course, we look at modifiers, which is a way of us to customize our compose widgets. And there's so much you can do with modifiers, and we'll continue obviously building upon this concept as we move forward in this course. We talked about basics layouts, surface, which we said it is the most primitive traditional canvas that we can manipulate and use it to add other widgets on top, box and column and so forth. So we also learned that in Compose, you can make anything clickable, meaning you can respond to a click event, a tap event. Not only buttons receive click events, but anything really can also receive a click event through modifiers. And of course, we talked about state in Compose, which is a very important topic, because the whole idea in Compose is to make sure that we dissociate this direct tinkering or updating of the state of widgets directly, like using setters and so forth. So state allows us to do all sorts of things, but mainly to decouple this dependency between the user interface and the logic. But the main goal really is to have one source of truth in our project through states. And with that, we really dove into the imperative and declarative approach, the differences and advantage of those. So imperative meaning the older quote-unquote way of creating apps in Android. And we learned that the industry now is favoring more a declarative approach. The declarative approach, you're declaring what you want to see on the screen and let data be the reactor. Data being the thing that will allow the functions, in this case the composable functions, to react and to describe themselves as they're supposed to. So the data is the ingredient, if you will, that makes this declarative approach even better. We talked about state hosting again, which is a way in which we need to remove the state from a composable function to the calling function. That way we decouple the state with a composable, making that composable function more reusable and easy to manage. And of course, we had to define this very important aspect of Compose, which is called recomposition. Recomposition is the process of calling your composable function again when inputs change, which again is the whole idea behind a declarative approach. And the beauty of recomposition is that when that happens, we are only targeting, or I should say, the Compose compiler is only targeting the widget or the composable function that needs that recomposition, that needs to be refreshed, if you will. Anything else around it, if it doesn't need to refresh itself, it won't. It just targets the one widget or two, depending, that needs to change if data changes. Which is amazing because now we are making sure that we don't run into memory issues, because recompose or refreshing the whole screen every time something changes, it takes a lot of memory, right? A lot of computing power. And so the way Compose works with recomposition, it makes it way easier and more memory efficient. Now, one thing I have to say that these concepts, this paradigm shift from imperative to declarative approach of building applications, it can be very daunting at first, or at least it can be very hard to grasp. Not because the concepts are hard to grasp, but because it's a shift of paradigm. It's a shift of way of thinking about building apps, right? So I encourage you to really take the time to watch the videos if you need to, because remember, this is a video course, which means you can watch as many times as you need. And really, if you hone in and understand these concepts, you're going to have a better time building Compose apps, because these concepts are the base of everything we're going to be learning now forward. Okay, I'm very excited, as you can tell, and I will see you in the next section.